Might be a little cool for me.
Okay. What shall we do today?
What shall we do? Oh.
Indriyebhyah parahyarthah, correct? Or did we finish that? So we finished Indriyebhyah parahyarthah, and then that Anthebhyascha param manah, manasascha parabuddhihi, buddheratma mahan parah, mahatah param avyaktam. We finished the whole thing. Sa kashtha, sa paragatihi. We finished that. So now we have to do Esha sarveshu shuddheshu budhotmana prakashate drishyate tu kriya buddhya sukshmaya sukshmadarshivih yachet bang manasi pragyah etc. etc. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Good. This is a nice portion. This is a nice portion because after Yachet among Manasik Pragya, the next verse is very exciting, and that is Uttishtha Jagrata Prapya Varan Nibodhatha Kshirasya Dhara Nishita Duratyaya. Very nice it is. Especially Adi Shankara's commentary for that is excellent. So the Adi Shankara commentary for that, and then there is later this whole upside down tree from which the 15th chapter of the Gita has been taken. And Adi Shankara got very inspired to write a 4-page commentary on that particular verse. And we should actually read that when we get there, if the classes continue. And so, you can have a chance to see how he got so inspired. Yeah. Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Punaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So in the last 2 verses, mantras, we took a journey from the gross to the subtle. And going from the gross to the subtle, what did we do? Get more and more broader, starting with one's own body, mind, sense complex. Correct? And so that process is going to be done again. There what we did was, we did with the sense organs. And what are they looking at? The sense objects. The sense objects were resolved into Jagat, Jagat into Hiranyagarbha, Mahan, and then that Hiranyagarbha unto its own cause, Maya Shakti of Bhagavan, and then from that Avyaktat, you saw that the wielder, the invisible, as it were, invisible because it's you ultimately. The invisible meaning not graspable by the organs. That's why the sense organs were resolved first. The invisible wielder of the Shakti, which is Purusha, and that Purusha, Sa Kashtha, she alone is the way and she alone is the destination. Isn't Purusha masculine? Yes, but here this is a Upanishadic gender bender where we get stuck on whether Atma is male or female, Bhagavan is a guy in the sky or not, and these kinds of things. And so therefore the Upanishad constantly tries to cut all the categories in the mind. And then now we are going to another verse, after which there is again a certain kind of a resolution that is talked about. The whole point is you begin with 2. Why do we begin with 2 if the whole point is to arrive 2 plus 2 is 1, if that is our Vedic mathematics? 2 plus 2 is what? 1. If that is our Vedic mathematics, then why not just start out with 1? Because we are always looking at the manifest universe, which is in the form of shining duality. That's all it is. The manifest universe is all 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Yeah. Everything is true. And that's why in Sanskrit we have the dual. A nod to Maya Shakti. She has 2 powers. She is the bringer of the duality. So this intermediary power, which makes the one as though into 2, that projective power, that is what, cannot be, what's the word for it? Cannot be denied. It is there, available for transaction. But just because it is available for transaction doesn't mean it's real. The rope snake, the biting rope snake is also available for transaction, correct? Not just a rope snake, a biting rope snake. But that doesn't mean it's really a snake. So many things are available for transaction. But it cannot, all the things in the universe cannot occupy the place of Sat, which is already taken by that which can never be negated. And everything in the universe is eminently negatable. Right now sitting on the chair, you can make it disappear. You can just say, okay, all you have to say is touch wood, gone. Where is this chair? Chair gone. Then wood. Then the truth of the wood is tree. I don't know which poor tree was sacrificed, but nonetheless. And the truth of the tree is, again the earth from which it comes. Prithivya Oshadhaya. Then the truth of Prithvi is again, you can say all the other elements. You can say space. And where did space come from? I, Atma. So you see, you have to play this game even in the teaching. Why? Because one is already hooked into this game. One is bought into this game because of this duality. So first we separate, or we show the separation between Atma and Anatma and say anything that I objectify is Anatma, not me, and I am in the pursuit of Atma, myself. And then finally Anatma is swallowed into Atma. Then who is the swallower of Atma? Huh? Atma. Atma cannot swallow Atma, so Atma remains. So this is what the whole idea of the 2 plus 2 is equal to 1 mathematics. So now, having resolved all these things, now we have another mantra that is coming up. And what is what is this mantra? This mantra has to do with if this, what is it trying to say? What is the connection between what we have just studied and this mantra? We can make the mistake or we can make the assumption, a mistaken assumption, after seeing that everything is just one, that this pravilapanam or this resolution of this many into one is just a child's play. You know, all you have to do is say everything is one, and then fine, what else is there to do? Finished. Then why you are bothering studying Upanishad? And then some other Vedantic texts, and then commentaries, and then another big headache, this Sanskrit, you know. Why do you give yourself a migraine? And why do you do this? You know, why simply you just say all is one and just, you know, sit in samadhi. Why do you need all this? Because it is not so easy to actually see this, and this is what is being talked about. It's certain things are not easy to see because they play hide and seek, or they are literally invisible. And certain things are not easy to see because they are so obvious, and that the obvious is missed often. That is what is missed. Nobody misses with that which is not obvious because you don't take it for granted. The obvious is most frequently missed. And so the obvious here is who? I. You know, and who is this I? The one that is beyond the body, beyond the mind, the one that inheres this body-mind-sense complex, that obtains, you know, in the form of this body-mind-sense complex, yet whose truth is formless, nameless, that I. Which is, what have we discussed about this I? It is self-shining, it is nowhere that it is not, no time that it is not, so it is free of time and space. Because whenever you say, are you here? You say yes, all the time. So that means it is always there, correct? Then what is the problem? It is always there. It doesn't go away. Then all this is that alone. And so if I say that the I in me is the I in you, how many I are we talking about? One I only. Because the I in me is the I in you. The I which is parading as me is the I that is parading as you. So it's like a Halloween masquerade. Correct? Yeah, it's like a Halloween masquerade. You put all these costumes and then, you know, everybody is waiting for the unveiling. It's like a masquerade ball, moksha ball. And then what do you see? Behind each costume is the same person. Poor Atma with various costumes. Same Atma with, you know, dressed as some kind of a, you know, what are those things called? You know, some animal, lion, tiger, and dressed as a witch, dressed as a wizard, dressed as some kind of a magician, dressed as Durga, Kali, Lakshmi. Even, you know, all these manifestations of Ishvara are also behind all these costumes. All that is just the naked, bare Atma behind all these costumes, you know. And therefore what? It requires a certain something extra to be able to make a spoof of this whole world as a charade, as a costume party, as a masquerade ball, you know. And that's why the next verse is introduced, is that it is not so easy, and it is not so easy because it is right there. And the other reason it's not so easy is going back to Shama, Dama, Uparati, Titiksha, or the lack thereof. What does that mean? Why are not people able to see that I am the whole, that I am everything here? Sarvatma Bhava, meaning that I-ness which I discover in everything. Whether it's in-law, outlaw, outlaws behaving like in-laws, in-laws behaving like outlaws, doesn't matter. I see this in everything. Why is that not happening? Because the preparation is lacking. Yes. And what are the tools of the preparation? A quietened mind. A resolved, uncomplaining, relatively speaking mind. You know? Yeah. Once in a while it's okay to complain. You know? Favorite complaint in Eugene, there is not enough rain. How? I don't know. People keep saying it's so dry. I don't know, it's dripping the whole day. But this is how, you know, so you can complain. I just did. And so, Once in a while you can complain, no problem. But we are talking of a mode of existence all the time, correct? So a mind that is always finding something wrong with everything around it, that is what is the problem. This is not okay. If this was okay, then I would be okay. If that, if the mother-in-law's mother-in-law was okay, then I would be okay. What is the connection? Oh, I don't know, but it seems right. This is how the person is very dependent on the external, and this very Upanishad is going to show that in the next chapter. One is so dependent on the external that the internal, is totally neglected. The Chitta Shuddhi and the Chitta Naischalyam, housekeeping. You have to put things away, you have to, prune extra things, and you have to dust once in a while, you have to take the cobwebs off, you have to air out, otherwise it will smell, so therefore you have to just air out everything. And all this is not done. This is what is called the internal landscape or the internal jungle pruning and the internal upkeep of this house. What house? Chittam, the emotional house, the roller coaster house. It is an amusement park at times, and at times one is screaming, Trahimam, Pahimam. Sometimes one is going nicely down, and sometimes it is scary, sometimes it's all uphill, sometimes it is that, what is that? That ghost ride, You don't know what comes, boo, like this, something comes all the time, and it's pitch dark, you can't see. In other words, the amusement park is just a place where screams are heard, correct? Yeah, aha, ho, ho, hoo, hoo. This is all the vowels you can put, and this is what the whole thing is. And so therefore, so this heart has to quieten down, and unless one is an adhikari, this knowledge is going to go like a plane, 33 feet above the head. That's what it is. It doesn't even reach. It's not even that it's a narrow miss. 33,000 feet above the head, the knowledge is going to hover. That's all it's going to do. It's not going to touch the head, because the head is filled with worries and, flurries of complaints, worries, fears and tears. This is samsara within. That's all there is. And therefore there is no space for this. Even if this knowledge were to hold the door ajar and try to set foot in, it does not have the space. And that also the Upanishad is going to reveal later on. But it wants to start off slowly so that it doesn't put anyone off. And therefore, Esha sarveshu bhuteshu
Esha sarveshu bhuteshu
gudhotmana prakashate
Gudhatmana prakashate
Drishyate tu agraya buddhya sukshmaya
sukshmadarshibihi.
So here it says sarveshu bhuteshu, in all people. Bhuteshu means not even people, jantus, in all, in all the meows and the bow wows and all the animals, yeah. In all the things that can say, I have life in a certain way, that can show that they have life. Some of them show by biting, such things also. In all the jantus, in all the creatures. The Atma, what does it say? Na prakashate. Ayyo, what happened now? Up till now we heard, does not shine. Arey, what happened to I? Are you here? Are you here? Chale gaya? It's gone? Are you here?
Yes.
Yeah, but then it says you're not here. This says no. Na prakashate. The Atma is not shining. Na prakashate, you have to add a little iva, as though. It's as good as not shining. Why? Because it is good. Gudhatvat na prakashate. And why is it Gudha? Panchakoshatvat. Because it is mistaken for the body, it's mistaken for the mind, it's mistaken for the senses, it's mistaken for the actor, it's mistaken for the one who is eating the fruits of the action. And therefore what? Therefore it does not shine as itself. It shines in a morphed way. I am as good as this body. I have the worst life on the planet. Nobody loves me. I am abandoned. I am subject to fear. I am as big as this body. And I am as healthy as this body. If the body is falling apart, I am falling apart. This is the favorite, way in which people like to look at themselves. Whether it's favorite or not, it's very common. And it seems to be the highly favorite, way of identifying oneself. Even when you meet someone new, what do you ask? What is your name? Their nama you ask. The form you can see, so you don't say. But if you meet online where there is no video, whatever, so how much do you weigh? That's what you would ask. Especially if you're sizing up the person as a potential partner, it's important. What is your height? It should be compatible. So what is your height? When did you last stand on the scale? How much do you weigh? Are you telling the truth? That's also important. Because everybody will say 110 pounds. It seems to be a nice weight. So you have to say, then are you telling the truth? Then you have to watch if there is a gap, before they answer. And so like this, but since you can see their form, all these questions are redundant. You can see how, big, or small the body is or how tall the body is, so you don't have to question. But you say, what is your name, correct? And then the very next question,
What do you do?
What do you do? This is the problem. What do you do? You go straight from, this is Annamaya, Namarupa, to Vijnanamaya. You go straight to what do you do? And then the next question, is like a support group question, What are the things that bother you? Oh, the same things also bother me. Let us get together, and I think this will be a good marriage because we are bothered by the same things. This is usually the criteria for getting married. Yeah. This is usually what happens when people get married. Because what they have in common are the complaints against everyone else. So it's the us against the them. So first the fellow was crying, nobody understands me. Now they both cry, nobody understands us. This is what it is. Nobody understands us. See how bad the world is. At least we have each other, That is called the honeymoon stage. What is the honeymoon stage? Till they call each other honey. Yes. And they are willing to go over the moon for each other. After that, moon continues because moon has been there for a long time. Honey gone. That's all. Then there is just moon, no honey. That's all it is. And so therefore, this is the regular way of dealing with people. You don't go, if you go to somebody new and say the I in you is the I in me, they're going to run away from you, I tell you. I guarantee you that. They'll say, where is this? Just because I moved to Eugene, I don't want all kinds of, loco people coming after me. They will say, go, this is not, nobody wants to hear this. And this again the Upanishad herself is going to reveal later on. That that everybody is in a deep slumber, and what kind of a deep, and if I may say, a sadly sweet slumber of ajnanam. What is ajnanam? What is ajnanam? Yes, ignorance, not knowing the self, ajnanam. So they are sleeping a sweet, sad but sweet slumber of ajnanam with a nicely embroidered tapestry quilt covered completely. And that quilt defines their world. On the quilt maybe some chitras. Chitras means pictures of cat, cow, dog, horse, etc. Children playing ball and trees and monkeys and monkey minds jumping here and there. That alone is their world under which they are covered. That is what it is. Ajnanam and anyatha jnanam. Ajnanam is the bed and anyatha jnanam is the coverlet. Anyatha jnanam is not only do I not know myself, this not knowing is compounded by wrong knowing. I am as good as the body, etc. So this is at the level at which people are. So no wonder Atmatvena na prakashate. In the form of Atma, it does not shine. What does it shine as? It shines as I am as good as the body. That is the Atma only giving making it evident that I am as good as the body. This wrong knowledge is made possible by what? Atma. Because Atma is shining the light on everything. Even on wrong knowledge, because like I told you yesterday, it is not opposed to ignorance, it is not opposed to wrong knowledge. It just is. But this is not fair. Why Atma is so mean? Why is it doing this to me? Why it should oppose? If I don't know, it should point out, because it's all knowing, it should point out. And if I'm saying wrong things about myself, it should say, no. The inner guru should come out like a burp and say, Tattvamasi, no. You are, the whole. Why this Atma just keeps quiet and watches everything and watches me fall into a ditch? Samsara after samsara after samsara. Samsara is only one, but samsara cycles. Every birth is one cycle. Birth after birth after birth, death after death after death. What would you call someone sitting on the sidelines and just watching someone keep falling into the same quicksand again and again, making the same squealing noises as they go glub, 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 life after life. And here this Atma is sitting perched on a tree, watching this whole thing. What would you call such a person or such a bird? Bad bird, right? Very bad. Why doesn't it do anything? This means that if we are asking this question, pertinent as it may seem, it means that we need to look a little more deeply into what is the nature of the Atma. The nature of the Atma is that which sustains everything without actually doing anything. So where there is no do worship, there is Atma. Like when we say the sun shines, a rare event, but anyhow. So the sun shines. Is shines a word or not? A verb? Is it a verb?
It is.
It is a verb, an intransitive verb. So shines is a verb. So shines is an action, correct?
Yes.
And so the sun is an actor who is indulging in the action of shining, yes or no?
No.
No. And those who thought yes, the answer is still no. Why? Because the nature of the sun is to shine. Even though we are constrained to use a verb to shine, shining as an action, here the shining is not an action. Because for action to be there, there has to be a will, there has to be a volition and an effort. And you don't see the sun going, today I have to put out my best solar flares, where are you when I need you the most? Summer is coming to this part of the earth, I have to really outshine myself. You don't hear the sun saying that. And you don't hear the sun and Betelgeuse. Betelgeuse? You know Betelgeuse? Ah, who is Betelgeuse?
It's close.
Yes, another sun. This sun will be beefed out of existence in compared to that sun, because in front of that sun, this sun is as small as a pixel. That is Betelgeuse. Spelt in a very stylish way, not as phonetic, okay? Yeah. So the Beetlejuice and sun are not having a contest, a competition, a shining competition. Guinness Book of Shining Records. No, there is no contest whatsoever. Why? Because it is the Swarupa of the sun to shine. So all it does is shine, it doesn't do anything else. All it does is shine, it doesn't know how to do anything else. It doesn't do even the act of shining. In fact, what we call, because of the constraints of grammar, grammatical constraints make us call it an act of shining, whereas the act is the sun's very nature. And we have seen this example before. If somebody is reading the Gita under a tree one afternoon, not in this town, somewhere else where the sun is, in India, we'll say, does the sun feel very happy and say, oh, Gita home study is going on, let me help these people out, Gita tree study, and let me shine, let me come closer to them and shine a little more? No. Underneath another tree, 4 bad-intentioned fellows. Why 4? Make them 10. 10 of them are sitting. And what are they doing? They're doing drugs, and then they are, hallucinating about robbing the bank, planning a grand larceny, and they are, they are already assigning the division of labor. Like, in ashrams and all, if some guest is coming, then we have, some people decorate, some festival is happening, some people decorate, some people go out and do the marketing, some people cook, some people clean. So here, one person is digging. What? A nice tunnel to go under. The other one, who is electronically inclined, is cutting the wires that set off the infrared signals and the alarms into the police. And the third one is, preparing, has gone off to buy some very nice ski masks. And so like this, does the sun abstain from shining because those are all adharmic actions? No. So therefore what? Atma is sun-like. Sun-like. So in that sense it is always shining, always available, but it does not act. And in the light of the sun, these activities take place, it keeps on shining. In the light of the Atma, the ignorance is there. Anyatha Grahanam takes place and it keeps on shining. Even though you don't know it shines, it doesn't stop shining. So when you say na prakashate, gudhatvat na prakashate, because of it being taken for something else. Because one is convinced that it is hidden, that I am not available to myself, one is convinced because I have taken myself to be the obvious. I have taken myself to be the apparent. When the apparent becomes real, the real recedes into somewhere else. Mithya becomes Satyam. Where is the place for Satyam? Satyam remains chup and waits, bides the time. Yeah, sometimes, some days, whatever you say is wrong. So those days what you have to do? Keep very quiet. Don't react, don't respond to anything. Then that day will go and your day will come the next day. So Atma is waiting. Atma is waiting. So here it says, Eshaha Atma, this Atma, or you better to take Eshaha Purushaha. Why Purushaha? From last time. Where Purushatma Param Kinchit, there is nothing beyond the Purusha. Sa Kashtha, Sa Paragatihi, that Gatihi, which was that destination which was described as Parama, as the ultimate, as Para. Here, so that same Purusha, since it is masculine, it's back again to the masculine gender after a brief stint into the Sa, feminine. So here, Eshaha Purushaha or Eshaha Atma, both you can take. Sarveshu Bhuteshu, in all beings, and Adi Shankara has a very nice, expression. Brahmadi Stavara Paryanteshu. So that means what? starting from Brahmaji, which is a celestial, including Yama. Starting from Yama, let's take Yama because he is the teacher of this Upanishad. So from Yama to a small little weed in all beings, without fail. But what does this Atma do? Gudhaha. Gudhaha here is not hidden. Adi Shankara cautions us. It is samvritaha, covered. Yeah, samvritaha, covered. Covered by what? Covered by avidya. Avidya achaditaha. Avidya achannaha. And so, because of which what? It is not available for darshan. That's why everybody says darshan kab doge. It's not available for shravanam. Oh, what are you doing now then? I'm listening. What are you listening to? Not the sound of Atma, right? Yeah. Then it's okay. What here Shravanam means, it's not available for listening to as enclosed by the ears or the organs of hearing. The organs of sight cannot enclose which? So, Darshana Shravanadishu, karma, avidya and maya achanna. So it is, avidya here is not knowing, maya here is knowing it as something other than what it is. So both the powers of maya are talked about here. What are the two powers of maya? Covering, which is called avarana. Yeah, and in the West, there is a very, funny pronunciation, avarana. First when I heard it, I just, I had to do a double take. Avarana. I said, what is this? Are you talking of Ravana? No, Avarana. I really thought the person was saying Ravana. Ravana is a Rakshasa in Mahabharata, Asura. Avarana. And then I said, what? And Vekshipa. I said, oh, okay, I got you now. Avarana. Asamantat varanyate. Avarana. Avarana. And Vikshepa. So avarana means covering. Vikshepa means projection. So the covering is ajnanam. Avidya is the covering. And the projection, I don't know who I am, that is the covering. And then therefore I take myself to be what I am not, is the projection. So both these are talked about here, and both these conspire. So one is ajnanam and one is anyatha jnanam. Jnanam is there, but wrong jnanam. What is the use? Anyatha means not yatha. Yatha means as it is. Ayatha, anyatha, not as it is. So, and then ayatha jnanam is as it is not. So, at least I know what I am not. If you know what you are not, as that which you are not, then it is called jnanam. But if you take what you are not to be as you are, that is anyatha jnanam. So both these conspire to make the life miserable, to squeeze out any joy out of living. Really, they just, suck the fellow dry and throw him, by the roadside and make him into a quintessential samsari, really. So it takes away all the fun out of life, being succumbing to this twofold, very powerful powers. And then what happens? So, therefore you say, Atma na prakashate. In what form? Atmatvena na prakashate. In the form of Atma, it does not shine. What does it shine as? Anatma. This is what we have to see. You have to read between the lines. So, it doesn't shine as Atma means what? It shines as something other than Atma. So, one keeps on looking for Atma. Who? The looker is Atma, the looking is Atma, what one finds as the object is Atma, subject is Atma, the process of looking for Atma is also Atma. Not understanding this, one is in a maze. Even rats will come out of the maze, sometimes they are intelligent enough. But the jiva, this jivic maze of Maya, is very difficult to extricate from. That's why you need a GPS, which shows, how to come out of this. There's only one way out, And that way is through the path of the Upanishad. This is going to explain later on. What is GPS? Guru Paduka Stotra. What is GPS? God protection system. Yeah, that's what. So, and then Adi Shankara has a lament. Not that he is feeling sad, but he is feeling sad on behalf of all the mumukshus who are yet or who are in the process of gaining knowledge, but keep succumbing to the Atma. And he cries, Aho! Aho means oh! Oh! Woe! Aho means woe. W-O-E. Aho! Ati Gambhira Sthiti. He says this is extremely serious situation. This is no laughing matter, even though we are laughing. Why are we laughing? Because we are not in samsara, that's why we are laughing. So, he says, Aho! Ati Gambhira. It is a horribly, horribly sad situation. And why is this a sad situation? Because, Duravagahya Vichitra Maya Cha Iyam Yad Ayam Sarvaha Jantuhu Paramarthatah Paramartha Sattatve Api Evam Bodhyamanoham Paramatma iti na grinhati ayamatmanam. He says, whoa, this is a sad situation. Why? Because even though they are Ishvara themselves, each and every creepy, crawly jantu, swimmy, flyy jantu, walkie, talkie jantu, every jantu or standing still jantu in the form of sthavara jantu, all these jantus, even though they are all Ishvara, moving Ishvara, walking Ishvara, quiet Ishvara, creeping Ishvara, crawling Ishvara, cockroach Ishvara, gecko Ishvara, all Ishvara, 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 virus Ishvara, bacteria Ishvara, bacteria Ishvara, and although all of them are Ishvara, they are unable to see this. Says this is Ati Gambhira, this is a serious matter. They are unable to see this even though they are walking, talking Ishvara. They say, oh, where is Ishvara? They are unable to see this and therefore nagrinhati. Why? Because he gives the reason later. Dehendriyadhi sanghat. Atmanah drishyamanamapi ghatadivat. Ghatadivat. तद आत्मत्वेन नाहं मनुष्यः पुत्रः इति अनुच्यमानोपि गृह्णाति. So basically what happens? First is they don't know that they are this Atma. They go just all over the place searching for something or the other. They are looking for something to do. Everyone is doing something. From the smallest pipilika. What is pipilika? Ant. You watch the ant when it's not biting. You watch it, carefully. It's hard to watch it when it's biting you. That's why I said when it's not biting, you watch. It's going somewhere. It's going. Then it hits the wall. Then it comes back. Then it's going. It takes a left turn and goes somewhere. Then you keep watching it. And if supposing your leg happens to be there, it will cross over you also and go. Everything is going. You look in the sky. Birds are flying. Who told them you have to migrate south? No, but we have to migrate. We have to go, and we have to go now itself. And then they migrate all the way. And by the time they reach, Georgia, it is time to come back south. Yeah. So then it is time to come back. Then they have to fly back. Then half the life is gone on flying that way. And then the other time they fly that way. So many frequent flyer minds. Everyone is on diamond status, whatever it is. And so like this, everything, and then something is keeping on collecting the squirrel, you see, just like this. Should I cross the road? No, I think I'll stay back. No, I think I'm going. No, and the driver committed to ahimsa is frozen on the road. The moment the fellow hits the pedal, the squirrel makes a wrong decision to go right in front. Screech, this is what it is. Everything is going, the squirrel is going, and the car driver avoiding the squirrel is also going somewhere, and everything is going. Nobody is still. In fact, in this all this going, Atma is gone. This is what it is. Going, gone. And so Adi Shankara says, Aho, this is Ati Gambhira, because the Atmatvena na prakashate, it is not shining as Atma. So if it does not shine as Atma, what does it shine as? Anatma. So therefore, everybody says, this is me, this is my child, this is my house. So each thing is taken discreetly as an entity, and and all of them being finite, the person is subject to constant grief. This is what the whole thing is. Atmatvena na prakashate, and therefore, iti anuchamanopi grinhati. So, it's like, he says, all the lokas are subject to this. Everyone, everywhere is subject to this. And so therefore, and he quotes the Gita also, and then he says that you please understand that it's not that the Atma is not shining. It is shining all the time. But since its shine, is more of a anumati. Anumati means what? It shines as the great permitter. Upadrashta, the overseer, Anumanta cha. Have you heard this? Upadrashta, Anumanta. Immediately one should think of Bhagavad Gita. I told you, if you don't know, you say Bhagavad Gita. 6th chapter, I think. So therefore, here we have to see that the Atma is shining, but since it is shining, it lends its form to so many various, it lends itself to so many names and forms without being any particular name or form, that it is mistaken for those names and forms. And the names and forms being just an embellishment to that Atma, if the embellishment is taken to be the whole, then you have missed the point. Because the embellishment is changing, it comes and goes, the embellishment is finite. Even the body and the mind are embellishments to this Atma. And so therefore, you have to understand this, Adi Shankara says, and then, therefore Atma na prakashate. It's not that it does not shine. It shines in a way that it shines a refracted light. Just like you put a pencil in a glass of water. What happens? It appears bent. Then you say, oh, this was my only pencil. You take it out, it's fine. You put it in, it bends. So this is an optical illusion, correct? Because the water waves have make it appear, not that they bend the pencil, they make it appear as though it is bent where the pencil is touching the water. And so too, here also, the whole Jagat shines in a refracted light. And what is this refracted light? I am as good as nobody, I'll never be famous, I'll never write important books, I will never leave anything wonderful behind, I will never be able to do this, forget rich, I will never be rich, because rich and famous go together, I'll never be rich, and I will never have anything to show, I will never have a huge house, I will never have a grand, all set of friends who follow me wherever I go. They keep calling me, fair weather friends, but friends nonetheless, you can call them friends. They will not be there. I am nobody. This is a refracted shine. It is the shine of Atma, no doubt, but it's the refracted shine, and the refraction is not caused by Atma. It is a dual cause of the water and the light in the case of the pencil, and in the case of oneself, the dual cause of this misunderstanding first is not having self-knowledge, and second is therefore thinking myself to be somebody else other than what I am. This is the dual cause of this refracted, truncated, punctuated knowledge, which is wrong knowledge, which is wrong knowledge. Where I should put the period, I put a comma, like after every anxiety. I should put a full stop, but it becomes a comma and grows and grows. Where I should put a comma and wait for something else to come, I put a exclamation point and stop it. This is what it is. So it's wrongly punctuated knowledge, truncated knowledge, and so therefore it's not that the Atma does not shine. But there are people who object to this verse. And the people object to this na prakashate. How can the Upanishad, which says this is prakasha swarupa, this is which is in the form of prakasha itself, how can you say na prakashate and in the same breath say dhiro na shochati, jnatva dhiro na shochati? Elsewhere it is said. Knowing this Atma, the people who are who? Who are these people? Dhira. Dhira means the wise ones, the vivekinaha, the vivekis. Na shochanti, they do not grieve. Atmanam matva, jnatva, dhiraha, na shochati. They don't come to grief knowing this Atma. And then the objector says, how can you know this Atma if it doesn't shine? How can you say in one breath, sir, that this Atma is not shining, and then you say, knowing which you will be freed of samsara? Do you have any shame or what? Or just something you're blabbering and calling it Upanishad? Come on. This is not Upanishad. Yeah. This is not Upanishad. This is a wrong thing. Because in one breath you are saying, Atma does not shine. And then another breath, knowing which you will be free of sorrow. So if it does not shine, if it is not available, how am I going to know it? And again, of course, we have to go through A, B, C, D. It is available, but not available for objectification, for grasping. It is available as you. It is always shining as you. Tell me, do you have the time to know this or not? Purva Pakshi says no and goes away. Then we can continue further. So, na prakashate. So therefore, what do we need? We just need, the problem is not with Atma shining. You just need better vision. That's all it is. Oh, should I buy a better pair of glasses? Drishyate tu agraya. Yes, you have to go buy a better pair of glasses, or at least develop a better vision. Yeah. That sukshma darshanam you have to develop. What is this sukshma darshanam? What is sukshma? Subtle. So subtle way of seeing. Develop a subtle vision. What is this subtle vision? Where should I develop this subtle vision? In the buddhi, not in the eyes. Eyes, they're not going to help. New glasses will help you see the words in the Upanishad. But here we are talking of the meaning of the words in the Upanishad. For them to bless, you need to exchange your buddhi for a better buddhi. That's what it is. You have to recycle the old buddhi, make it into compost. It is getting there anyway. And then out of the compost will rise a new buddhi, like the phoenix from the ashes. Will sprout a new buddhi. And that new buddhi has to be nurtured, because that is sukshma buddhi. And how is that new buddhi different from compost buddhi? Compost buddhi is post, it's gone. Why? Because it is soup, basically. Buddhi has turned into liquid. Why? Because wrong buddhi. Everything that one knows before coming to the Upanishad is wrong buddhi. rotten buddhi, rotting buddhi. A buddhi full of raga dvesha is rotten buddhi. So better make something out of it, make compost. And out of that, new recycled buddhi. What is that? Crafted by the study of the Upanishad. This new buddhi crafted by the proximity to the Upanishad and the teacher of the Upanishad. So that, in combination with exposure to the teaching and the teacher, a new way of looking at things comes and abides where that other buddhi used to be. Right on that, right on the heads of that buddhi stands another buddhi, a newly acquired buddhi. Buddhi is always acquired, like taste. In the beginning, nobody likes so many things. Nobody likes beer. This is, whatever it is, people tell me, whenever I ask, oh, did you like it? No, it was horrible. Then why are you continuing to drink? Well, because after a while you get the taste of it. Nobody likes their first cigarette. They cough and hack, and then after that what? They still cough and hack, but anyhow. So this is what it is. Nobody likes the first time they smoke. It's not a pleasant situation, I've heard. And it's not, so many things are unpleasant. Blue cheese, nobody likes it, I hope they don't, but first time nobody likes it. And then, and some other strong smelling cheeses. You go into this place, I went one day, I was in Belgium, yes, land of cheese. I went to Brussels for a conference. And there someone said, oh, this is on the way to the conference site. They said, let's just look into this shop. Look, I said, what is this shop? So many cheeses, come. This is a specialty of our city. So I stepped in and hurriedly had to step out. Hayabba. My goodness. The odors, and those people, the workers there, they were happily enjoying and cutting, weighing and cutting and wrapping in white paper and giving it to the customers. The customers were very happy. They were saying, poor me, somebody had to fan me back to life. It's a very bad situation. So really this is cultivated. Supposing if I had to stay there only and that was the only thing to eat, then I would slowly, have small amounts of exposure. I'm imagining in this shop, every day half a second, 1 second, 2 seconds, half a minute, 1 minute, then I will also get used to it. Then who knows, then I will also be touting those cheeses. Oh, you have to go. Who knows, because this is all a cultivated, everything is cultivated. So buddhi is also cultivated. And then for sale, there are two kinds of buddhis. Which one do you want to, which one do you want to have? One is called the uncultivated buddhi, where no effort has been made by the indweller, the possessor of the buddhi, to kind of, polish it a little bit, to shine it up, to give it some samskaras, to make it like some good things. This is called prakrita buddhi. Uncultivated, from prakritehe yam prakritam, meaning just as nature made this buddhi, just like a wolf. What does a wolf do? If it feels like biting, it's not going to say, sir, I've had a hard day and I'm not knowing what else to do. After all, I'm a wolf. Will you please permit me to bite you? It's not going to ask permission to bite. If it feels like biting, it's going to bite. Similarly, the donkey is not going to say, alas, aho, I have to kick. I'm just getting this urge to kick, so please forgive me. It's not going to say sorry. Neither is the wolf going to say please. This is what is called prakrita buddhi. And they are not doing anything wrong because they are programmed by the laws of Ishvara to bite, to kick. Why? Why are they biting and kicking? Because how else will your karma get exhausted? They are there just to exhaust your own karma. So then this is fine when we are talking of the bestial world, but it is not fine when we are talking of humans who act like beasties, right? Yeah. For the human being, there is a certain, striving, a natural striving to cultivate the buddhi. It comes naturally. And that is the distinguishing factor between humans and animals. Dharmo hi etam adhiko visheshaha dharmena hinaha pashubhis samana. So, out of the two things, animals and human beings, everything is common. Sleep, you sleep, animal also sleeps. Correct? You walk, animal walks. You talk, animal also talks in its own language. You have children, animal also has children. You are afraid, animal is also afraid. You are afraid of cockroach is also afraid of you. Don't forget that. So then, if that is the situation, then what happens? Then we have to look at this very important thing. What is the separating factor between humans and animals? The ability to cultivate the buddhi and move it in accordance, dress it up with dharma. This is what is the adhika, which is vishesha. This is the only specialty which is a little more than what animals have, because animals don't have the free will, they are programmed. But I am not programmed, I have free will. So therefore I have to cultivate this buddhi to want subtler and subtler things, to like subtler and subtler things. So therefore I have to become sattvika buddhi, rajas, tamas and sattva. So out of the inertia of tamas, out of the rajas, restlessness, that is rajas, I have to bring it to a kind of faith. The mind is in a quietened, godly state. Yes. And when I bring the mind to that state, and here you can make use of sadhana, meditation, seva, all these things, japa, tapas, everything here at this level. Because this is at the level of preparation. And when you unpack preparation, what is preparation other than cultivating the mind, cultivating the buddhi, the intellect, to see the subtlest of the subtlest, which is the truth of yourself as you. As long as the buddhi is out there, grazing in the lands of desire, grazing in the pastures of sense objects, it is very difficult to corral it back and develop it. This is what it is. So therefore the buddhi is kept close to what it really needs to know, the Atma. So therefore the buddhi is not given a free rein to just follow everything that it wants, because it is first interrogated, and through Viveka and Vairagya, what one first wants is determined, and then through Nishchayatmika Vritti, Antahkarana Vritti, which is Buddhi, this Buddhi is made into a Nishchayatmika Vritti, meaning I will not, be deterred. Once I choose this knowledge, I will make sure that I will pursue it, no matter what hardships come. So this is what is called Sukshma Buddhi. And this Sukshma Buddhi, don't think, oh, I don't have Sukshma Buddhi, I can't see Atma. This is rubbish. You have Sukshma Buddhi, where, it is so Sukshma, you can't see it. No, it has to be cultivated. It has to be cultivated. It has to be cultivated, and the more you cultivate it, it's just like any other tastes. You can have a gross taste. What is a gross taste? Some people I've heard eat all kinds of things, And for someone of cultivated taste, those things will not speak to you. And then you cultivate the taste further. Then you can't eat the things you're eating now. And so like this you have to cultivate. You can cultivate all when you also sight. You cultivate the sight to see things that are pleasant, see things that are calming, see things that are, at least where you have a choice to see. And same thing, the ears can be cultivated to hear subtle sounds, subtle music, not something that's always pounding and heavy, subtle. So similarly, the intellect, through ingesting different sensory objects, to refining the sensory tastes, will have an impact on the buddhi. The buddhi also becomes very much sukshma, very much subtle. More we'll see next week. Om Purnamada
Purnamidam Purnat
Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.
Yeah. Any questions? Mind, according to the Shastra, is the faculty that is always wavering. When you say buddhi, it means the intellect, which is the decision-making faculty. Yeah. So that's the difference, according to the Shastric definition. Wonderful. So blessing to have you too in my life, all of you. No questions? Okay.
Purusha?
Purusha means that which fills up everything. It's a name for Ishvara.